Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Business Roundtable podcast. I'm excited to have you back. We've got two guests here, one returning guest and a brand new guest. For those of you that don't know, my name is David Carr of Steward Your Business. I'm all focused on organizational health, helping their teams to come together to accomplish great things. And I'm super excited about our topic tonight, about the power of health and wellness in business. And we're going to dive into it here in a moment. But before that, I would like to introduce both of our guests. And I'll start with our returning guest, Stacy Kinoshita. Welcome back, Stacy.
Thank you, David. I'm happy to be back and happy to be able to interact with Heather too as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've really valued your input in the past with Stacy. And I've gotten to know Heather through a great organization called Powernality. And Heather has just got a wealth of great insights and perspectives. And so I'm really excited. Heather, welcome to the Business Roundtable podcast.
Oh, thank you, David. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to actually meet Stacy in person, so to speak. Yes, we've had quite a wonderful meeting between all of us at different times. I love how, you make a connection and it just leads you to someone else. And here we are wanting to talk about something so important and close to my heart, as I know it is yours and Stacy's.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so we've had Maurice Evans on the podcast previously. So he's given us some background of Powernality, Heather, which is great. And we're really excited to learn about, share your insights there. But yeah, I want to start kind of a broad one. And before we hit the record button, you guys on this, we were talking before this, and I'm acting, if you will, and truly as the interested business owner, or you the manager, or you the employee. I want to ask some key questions of both Stacy and Heather here, so that you can be hopefully the healthiest person in body, mind, and soul, if you will, in your organization. And we've just got some great insights them. So when we talk about prioritizing health and wellness in business, because I think we sometimes we want to think that we do, but I don't think we don't always think about that. And there's some things that maybe Stacy, we've talked about in previous episodes where business owners haven't considered that. But can we talk about what, number one, why should we prioritize? What's the importance of looking at that? Because that's probably a question, right? You've gotten, Stacy. Why should I look at that? Why should I look at this health or wellness program? Or, why? Just start there.
I think that's a good starting point. First of all, health and wellness is an important area of our life, period. Without your health, you have nothing. And so, so let's look at it from just a personal, point of view, or personal standpoint. You've got to have your health in order to be able to do anything in life. But I think with a lot of business owners, maybe I suggest that how they look at it. A lot of times, business owners won't even take a look at it unless you can monetize it, because for them, it's about, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's about creating a workforce that's going to help their business be profitable. So if I even look at it from that point of view, if your workforce, it's your biggest expense. Payroll is one of your biggest expense. And if you're investing in bringing in people and hiring them and training them, it would be in the best interest of the owner to take an interest in the health and wellness of their employees, because they have a healthy workforce and they're able to address a lot of the health issues, so they don't have turnover and they don't have all of that that's involved with replacing a valuable worker. It's going to pretty much affect in a positive way their bottom line. So let's look at, because really when we talk about it from a business owner, they want to hear how's it going to affect their bottom line. So right. I wanted to address that. Your workforce is your biggest investment. So why not look at how you can help them be healthy? Because it's going to benefit you as the business owner. So
yeah.
Heather, I see you shaking your head there. So you go ahead and chime in, girl.
Yeah, I want Heather, because I've read, for those of you that don't, I follow Heather because she does some amazing articles, by the way, both of you do, on LinkedIn. And Heather's written a lot about this. And this is something I love Heather about, especially the Powernality lens and knowing yourself, right? I mean, but give it again, why is so important that we prioritize this, particularly in business?
Yeah. I think first of all, Stacy hit it right on the head. Wellness in the workplace is actually a smart strategy, right? It's actually creates a cycle of success and positivity. You actually, and that cycle is this: it's well-being enhances business performance, right? Successful business practices promote further well-being, which boosts everything from creativity to efficiency. And it just goes round and round and round. So, well-being is actually imperative for a highly successful, well-functioning business. And that is true for every employee at every level, as well as the CEO.
Absolutely.
So, it's just one of those things that, when your employees are in good health and good spirits, their productivity, their engagement, all of those levels soar, right? They go up and they enhance your business outcomes. So when you want to know about that bottom line, this is part of that bottom line, right? It actually makes a massive difference to support a work environment that has wellness at the top of its priority list.
Yeah, right.
And I'm glad you said that. You mentioned, I didn't mean to cut you off, David, but
Go ahead.
a lot of times we talk about health and wellness more on a physical level. But you're right. I mean, right now, one of the main topics is mental illness. And if you have rampant cases of mental illness in your business, it does affect the energy levels of your employees, the physical wellness of your. I mean, it all is. What's the word? It's integrated. It all ties into each other. So I'm glad that you mentioned that part of it as well. So.
Well, I was going to ask either one of you if you have a resource, or maybe you guys can share with us later, because I think this is so important. And as an interested business owner myself and others, is like gauging that or getting feedback from your employees, or like assessing, like you said, Stacy, like I know you had talked with one company where you talk with the employee and they're like, oh, I could really use this, but the business owner is like, I don't need this, I don't have an issue with this. But you're like, yeah, but think about the rest of your team. So like, how would you this is kind of leading into our next topic about building this culture, but really about assessing, if you will, or survey, or somehow, like you're saying, how to rate, like, how are you doing as a company, or are you addressing those issues? And again, is it hiring you as a consultant, Stacy, to come in and assess it and giving them like, hey, let me look and see where you are, what's your health and wellness IQ, if you will?
Well, absolutely. I think for the small business owner, the challenge with small business, okay, a lot of times when we look at assessment, you have to look at, do they have programs in place for the employees to use? Have they implemented different types of strategies to be able to gauge? Because if you're not doing anything, then how do you gauge anything? In other words, unless employees are showing up sick all the time, or you have a heavy turnover. So I think when it comes to the basic level of an employee or small business owner that absolutely has no type of benefits, no type of wellness programs, nothing that's there for the employees to take advantage of, then you have to look at from the point of view as, what is the turnover? How often are my employees calling in sick? What is the employee morale in my company? And can you gauge it? I'm sure there are ways to be able to measure it, but I think you have to be creative in the way that you measure those, because it's not like they're doing a program and you're gauging whether or not they're using it. You have no programs in place, and so you've got to gauge the behavior of your employees, and from there you can see, well, what can we do to help our employees be healthier physically, mentally, all of that. So I think that's the most common one, because again, when the small business owner makes up about 85% of our economy, and a lot of them you have quite a few that are under 50 employees, which means that by law, they're not even required to offer medical insurance. So that's a whole different conversation in itself. Is how do you help the small business owner, because you're dealing with very little tangible information that you can, to be able to gauge how their employees are doing and how healthy they are, other than just the employee behavior and their production or the results that they're giving the business. I don't know, Heather, what's your take on that?
Yeah, Heather,
The small business.
No, I absolutely agree with you, and I think that it is important to understand that wellness is part of everything. Wellness is part of. It has to do with our physical health, our emotional health, our mental health, our environmental health. Help me out here. Environmental health.
The place,
right? Right. It's everything, and measuring that really does take some creativity, simply because the small business really can't afford a lot, right? They really can't afford a lot. But I like what you said, though, Stacy, in that your workforce is your biggest investment. So the reality is that they can see the value in promoting wellness within the company. They will see greater returns in the end, because when leadership shares in that same goal and provides incentive for people to be healthier, it does come down to the bottom line. So it's possible for small businesses actually to make even more money than they thought possible, simply by allowing for this space of wellness, right? Because wellness is what you do, and health is the result that you have, right? Health is what you do. Wellness is what you do, health is your result. Okay. I am so tongue-tied. Forgive me.
No. And I'm following you.
Well, there's a difference. I think it's important, Heather, you're clarifying, that physical health and then the wellness. And I think that there's, in my experience anyway, I think there's a lot we can do to create a space of wellness, the environment. Maybe I can't, change somebody's physical diet, or there's something that I can't do. I can't make them go to the gym per se, but I could create a gym space in, let's say, in my office, right?
Yeah, you don't have to hire a chef to come in and prepare meals for everybody, right?
Yep.
But there are some small things that you can do, and even just hiring a liaison to come in and evaluate and do some of that can help as well. But your leadership in business matters just as the leadership in your wellness matters, right? That leadership has a responsibility to set the tone and the mode and the mood and the expectation and the quality within the business environment.
Absolutely. And you know what, I think one of the ways that the most basic is, just even starting with, which is regulated safety. I think that
man, we are so on the same page.
Yeah, safety. So if your staff doesn't feel safe, you got issues with chemicals, or if it's a school with just areas that are people don't feel safe, or procedures, you don't have the right procedures in place. So let's just start with the basics of what they can control, or what they have. We're not talking about go out and get a whole bunch of spend a whole lot of money on medical insurance. I mean, you can start with your basic. But you were mentioned, Heather, that a lot of small business owners don't have resources. But I would say this, as a previous
they
business,
have
small business owner,
you know what? I cut you off. Finish, please.
No. Go ahead.
No.
Well, what I was going to say is that a lot of small business owners think that the only way to provide a wellness program or health program for their employees is to provide group medical. And that is just not the case. There are other resources that are available. And when I was a small business owner, I kept saying I'm too small to offer benefits. I can't afford benefits. I can't afford. Everything came out was I can't afford. I don't have this. I don't have that. And then now that I'm on the other side of the spectrum, on the other side, I realized that there are, in fact, resources out there that not only doesn't cost the employees any money, or very little, less than what it would cost for them to bring in group medical, but that's not their only option. And for me is, how do I expand their vision so that they're not just in this loop, like, okay, the only way that I can provide this wellness, program for my employees is to be able to dish out, all this money for group medical insurance. And that, again, there are other resources out there. So I see you got something on the tip of your tongue, Heather. Go ahead.
No, I just agreeing with you so much. And I get so excited. David knows I just get so excited about what I'm doing and so forth. And I can barely contain myself because I love everything you're saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's about creating a culture that prioritizes the well-being, right?
Right.
It doesn't, wellness is not medical. Wellness is not health. Wellness is its own thing, right?
Yep.
And it is affected by everything we do, everything we're around, everything we consume, everything we put out, and the same with all other people.
Yeah.
You touched on safety first off, and I have to say, if we treated wellness with the same respect that we treat safety in the workforce, and I believe it should be so, then there would be no question. Medical costs would go down. Why? Because they see that even in the companies that have gone ahead and been more progressive, they have full-on wellness programs, their medical costs, their insurance costs for their employees is less. They get to offer their employees lower premiums on the stuff that they're doing because they are living a healthier lifestyle. They're taking part in the wellness programs. They're feeling better. They're missing less work, all of that. So the thing is, we just don't understand the importance of wellness or where it really falls in, right? And
Yep.
in the workplace, it's imperative.
Yeah.
Imperative.
Well, this Heather, I'll lead into our kind of topic about how we build this health and well culture, because here in Southern California, where Stacy and I just literally saw on the news, because you were talking about Stacy earlier about people being sick. Well, Metro is one of the big bus lines out here. Like 25% of the workforce sat out sick on Friday because it wasn't because of pay, they wanted more pay or they wanted more benefits. It was because they're not feeling safe in being a bus driver because of the people coming on the bus or how they're getting in there. So it's two things. It's safety, right? And then them just feeling comfortable in where they're working and doing their job. They know how to drive the buses every day. They can get around great, amazing. But they're feeling stressed because of the safety environment and the people coming into the buses or doing just dangerous things. So to both of your point, it causes people to be sick because they're like so stressed out.
Right.
And then
That's
of course
fair.
that leads to other things, right? Chronic stress will lead to other things.
Right. Absolutely.
Totally.
But let's go back to some just resources, some basic resources that small business owners have. It's funny, before COVID, I focused heavily on just employee benefits. And then I realized that there are a lot of other resources out there besides benefits. But even let's go into benefits. When I talk to a lot of business owners, a lot of them want to provide some type of medical insurance for their employees, but they can't afford it. But what blows me away is that I also bring in supplemental insurance for them. And with supplemental insurance, they could provide an opportunity for their employees to get dental and vision and other ways to protect them financially. So but that, by the way, that's another stress. I mean, when you talk about wellness and stress, that identity theft is another stress. If you got your identity stolen, it's like, and you can't, how are you going to contact the proper places while you're at work, and so you're sitting there work. So all of these factors play in when it comes to mental health, physical health. But I think the one thing that shocks me about business owners is a lot of them are just looking at the bottom line. They're looking at I mean, I, as a benefits counselor, I'll actually go into a business and I meet these people once a year, but they only want to give me 10-15 minutes of pay time to sit down with an employee for them to make decisions about their medical benefits or their supplemental benefits or their life insurance or whatever. And I'm thinking
those things affect their entire life from here on out, right?
Right. And yet, it's like, and I get it. This weekend I was in Oakland and I was at a preschool and where they have a lot of kids and they have teachers. And so the teachers can't be away from the kids and they have other teachers covering their shift. Okay, I get that. But I've gone to places where maybe the business owner feels that the employees don't appreciate the time that they get, and so the owners become a little disgruntled as well as the employees become disgruntled, and now it becomes like, well, why did I give them? I'm not going to pay for them to sit there and talk to you about their benefits, even though it's once a year. And I can see both sides. I can see both sides. But if I look at the bigger picture and I realize that my workforce I'm spending all this money investing in my workforce anyway. I can't run my business without employees. And how do I, as the leader, make the decisions to turn this around so that it becomes a priority and my workforce understands that I have made them a priority? I think that's where maybe maybe we should be focusing on the owners, because they're the ones that got the leadership's got the issues, but again, you've got that vicious cycle of how do you balance that out? So anyway,
yeah, I want well, because I think this is important. This is a really important discussion, because we're talking about, number one, building a culture of, and then implementing this, right? Making sure that we're doing it. And what I hear you say, Stacy, is if you don't have the business owner, or at least speaking their language and understanding, put it in words of which they value and appreciate, they're not like, well, it doesn't make sense to me in community. And Heather, I don't know if you might have put you on the spot a little bit, but I think it's important because we talked about leadership voices. You were on that in the past, Stacy, and Powernality. And when we talk to certain people, there's a little bit of finesse and understanding what motivates them, what drives them. And
Sure.
so we have to look at that, because if I think, if you're coming from, and I'll use the Powernality tools because Heather does this, but if more of a protector and a nurturer, somebody is like this, but you're trying to talk to somebody that's a commander, head of the chief, you can't use the same language. So I think this is where we might run into problems sometimes, right? Where you, as a business resource specialist, or the resources, hey, you're watching after these people, what's going to happen, but you're trying to talk to somebody, it's like almost a foreign language. Like they don't get it. So Heather, maybe if you just put that hat on or something, because I feel like sometimes those people in leadership positions just are not naturally, not all of them, but many of them don't have that nurturing kind of protectoring role of like people. It's not they don't care. They just got a lot of things on their mind and missions, and that's just not there.
A lot on their plate. And truthfully, that's one of the hard parts about being a small business owner or a solopreneur, is you're wearing literally all the hats, right? You're wearing all the hats. But yeah, if you can kind of sit back and understand a little bit why you tick and understand why someone else ticks, you can accommodate better conversation through that, right? Like you mentioned the protector and the commander. Protector is going to seem super passive to a commander. That's not necessarily true. That's the perception, because they're polar opposites of each other, right? And so that's why I said earlier, liaison. You don't have to hire someone to be there every day or every week or long term, but a liaison to come in and identify some of these things actually is very, very beneficial, because the liaison is going to know how to talk to, preferably, in my opinion, one trained in Powernality, going to know how to talk to and get the most out of each individual in person, right? And the thing is, they're having a hard time making payroll, or they're having a hard time figuring out how they're going to pay for healthcare for their employees, like Stacy mentioned, much less a wellness program. I mean, that's just another thing on their plate. So we want to be creative in things we do, but we want them to understand they're not required to create this huge, incredible program. But what they do want to do is prioritize their wellness, their health, and they want to live by example. And more importantly, they want to make wellness options available, because just like health, you can't force someone to go to a doctor. You can't force someone to take part in a wellness practice. But that's where understanding your role as the owner or the manager or the CEO in the company is, just that business is as important as the business is. The wellness within that business is just as important.
I agree. I think that looking at some practical ways, it's funny. I told you that a lot of times you have to monetize wellness programs for the business owner to see the value. But there are programs that are offered that also monetize wellness program so that the employee will see the importance. And it's funny, you think it's your own health. Why do you have to monetize it? I mean, for me, it's like, I want to wake up, just waking up healthy and feeling strong and being able to do my job. It's enough. But, you
Right.
know, there's but let me give you some examples. You know, on the supplemental, one of the supplemental companies I work with is Aflac, and some of the plans have wellness benefits. Believe it or not, you can have a cancer plan and get $100 per person on the policy just to go get a cancer screening each year. So what do I do? I go in there and I have to tell them, look, you got this cancer policy. Well, first of all, men are just, I'm gonna be straight up, men are horrible. You have to almost smack them before you to get them to go see a doctor. But when you tell them, look, just go get a cancer screening for $100, then you can go get your beer. You can go hang out with your dudes. But it's funny, I have to do things like that. Look, this has this wellness, but all you got to do is just go get and believe it or not, people will do that because they want the money. There's another program called Champ Plan, and basically is if they have to I think do a certain amount of hours wellness activity each week in order to basically almost, I don't want to say be refunded, but what the program does is allows them to take advantage of pre-taxation so that there's more money in their paycheck, and all they have to do is complete certain number of activities each week in order for for them to see their paycheck grow a certain amount. And it's just funny how we have to introduce these types of programs just to monetize health and wellness for the employees as well. So it works both ways. But but a lot of those programs, if it's going to benefit the employee, it's going to benefit the employer in a monetary way, their bottom line. My job is, how do I go in there and show that value? So when I talk to the business owner, I have to speak the language of the business owner. And when I talk to the employees, I've got to touch them in a way that they see the benefit of participating in these wellness programs. So there are practical ways to do that. I guess I'm trying to say it doesn't have to be,
Absolutely.
so
Well, I think,
go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, and this is the beauty of why we have this whole podcast, to be honest with you. As folks are listening or commenting in, please leave comments because we'll respond to them. But this is to prompt you to think about it, like you said, Stacy, and maybe talk with Heather or talk with Stacy. They can give you ideas of ways. I almost hear you saying, like, kind of gamify it, Stacy, or you're trying, you just have to work out our human brains, how our behaviors are, right? And we're motivated motivated for different reasons, right? And I'll go back, Heather, to maybe you, because again, knowing in when we talk about our leadership voice or our powernality, knowing what motivates us is different, right?
Right.
Why would we be
Yeah.
healthy? What is that? So Heather, I mean, just going off what Stacy would say, what would be some things that we could, again, how do we address this with these different interests, if you will? Because we can talk about physical, mental, emotional, spiritual well-being. There's lots of different things that are motivating us, right?
Right. Well, and again, I think the first thing, and you hit the nail on the head, and even this is what Stacy's doing. You got to talk the language of the leader. You got to find that buy-in with the business owner first, because they are the ones that are going to set the tone for everything, right? And it's not just that their employees' mental health, physical health, emotional health matter. Theirs does as well, right?
Absolutely.
Theirs is just as important. And then when you talk about powernality in that realm, if I were talking to a calculator is going to want all the deets, right? They're going to want all the facts, all the deets, so they can make a very, very informed, long, drawn out, process-driven understanding of the plan, right? A commander just wants you to give him the facts, give it to him straight, and get to it, right? So, and an energizer you're not going to have any problems with, because they're going to keep asking more and more and more, because they energize the whole conversation. And then the protector, they're there to help everybody. So their biggest thing would be, you want to make sure they understand that they can indeed help everybody without breaking the bank. That bottom line does matter. The wellness of that leader, the wellness of that owner is part of that bottom line, is part of their wellness, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So
When you don't,
I think
yeah,
that's the biggest thing is, you need to understand what it is that you have to offer in the wellness game, what it is that you're doing. And in this case, we're talking specifically wellness in business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so you need to go in with the understanding that it's not just this person's employees that need wellness. It's not just this person who owns the business who needs to figure out how to provide health benefits. This is a holistic, all-encompassing issue and situation. And it starts from the CEO down. And in some cases, you might even say it starts from the bottom and goes up, because
Mm-hmm.
we are as important as the smallest cog in our system.
mm-hmm.
And wellness, good health makes the difference in that.
Yes, and identifying that. I mean, unfortunately, we've seen terrible tragedies because people didn't pay attention to the health and wellness, especially mental wellness, right? Where people have unfortunately done very bad, terrible things coming into an organization because they felt
Sure.
disconnected, mentally unstable, right? And we weren't paying
Well,
attention
and
to
you
that
don't
business
even
owner,
know.
minimizing it, right?
And how do you identify that unless you have some kind of open, real wellness program going on? How would you know? Some people who have mental illness don't even know they have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would you know? How is that environment? How are they going to go in and get and feel safe and have the ability and have access to the wellness that they need for their health?
Right.
Yeah.
Not the being the devil's advocate, but I
Yeah.
think we can't make my opinion is, and whether you want it or not, but the employer
Shit,
can't
baby.
be 100% responsible for the health and wellness of
No.
individuals. They
No,
can
no.
provide the resources, they can provide the
Yes.
environment, but
Yes.
like you say, well, how do we know that there's mental illness or whatnot?
But
It,
what I'm saying there is most people don't feel safe in even approaching mental illness within the workforce. Most
Mm-hmm.
people don't feel safe in mentioning it at all because of the shame that's associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
not just the shame
I think
and
I said earlier, there should be no shame, but I think I mentioned earlier, it's really the employer's job to make these resources available.
Right.
Or have an avenue to which they're available, right?
Right.
But they have the ability to lead from that standpoint to where they bring everybody on board. A leader leads, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. And you know what? I wanna elaborate on that. I had a friend, and her husband had a mental breakdown, had a psychotic break. And what was unusual about it was the reaction. I don't want to say unusual because I think a lot of people treat physical illness differently from mental illness. That
Absolutely.
and at the end, um, they felt like, the comment was, if it had been a heart attack or stroke, they would have treated him differently than they would have, because he had a psychotic break and a mental breakdown, but the way that they treated him was almost like it was his fault, that he should, if he can't hang, then if he can't deal with it, then he shouldn't be out there doing things. But if it had been a heart attack or stroke, they would have had more empathy, more care, more, get well, do. And it was just interesting to hear how
Yeah.
that played out, how they treated the physical.
Yep.
Right. And so you're right. When there's that stigma in the workforce of, when you treat mental illness like, you need to get tough and tough it out. It's hard to have that conversation. The other thing that makes it hard is that whole thing with HIPAA, and you can't just openly discuss.
Right.
That I'm an insurance agent, so I can't go around talking about your mental illness or your wellness. I have to keep it generic enough where I'm protecting the HIPAA rights. And so, but David, I think you had a comment about.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, so that's important. That's a caveat, because none of us here are an HR specialist and all that stuff too. So I'm not going to pretend to be that. But as you're listening to this, I would say as an individual, reach out to Stacy or Heather. I'm sure you guys would be happy to talk with an individual,
Absolutely.
and they can,
Absolutely.
talk with you, and they can share whatever they want with you, and then you can decide how that gets relayed. So what I see as a business owner and looking at this and have worked within businesses in the past, what I see as both of you as great resources and anyone in this field is that, okay, we in business, we have all types of insurance, not just medical insurance. We have, cybersecurity insurance. We have, all kinds of insurance. What I'm thinking, this is just the way my brain works, as you guys both talk, is that having somebody come in, you're kind of like in a quote unquote an insurance policy. If you're coming in, I'm helping mitigate risk with my team because you can ask those questions or present the information, right? And help address it. Like you said, Heather, how do you know? Well, I start talking about this, start presenting this, and somebody's like, man, I feel like I've been that, or I've seen that in somewhere. I'm experiencing it myself. How do I get help? Like, well, we'll find out. We'll give you some resources to help you. But if you don't know, you don't know. So investing in, like you said, Stacy, 10 or 15 minutes talking with an employee or blocking out some time, you're like, okay, yeah, there is some front end investment, but think about, like you said, how we're mitigating risk over the long haul. And this is a way
Absolutely.
of investing and pouring into your employees and saying, hey, you're important. I want to make sure you're healthy, well, mentally, physically, emotionally, right? All of these things. I want you to be holistically present, right?
Right.
Ooh, I like that. Holistically present. Oh, coin that.
Record it so you guys can back and listen to it again.
Holistically.
Holistically present. I look at that in all areas because here's the reality. Because in my own coaching program, we talk about body as part of it. That's not my main focus. It's more business. But I look at it, like you said at the very beginning, Stacy, it's all affecting each other. So if our body is off, well, we're not going to do that well in business. Our relationships are probably going to suffer as well, right?
Right.
And if you're spiritual in any form way, or you may not be spiritual, just this disconnection. So I look at that holistically, meaning they're tied together. You pull on one, it pulls on another. You guys are just being able to zero in specifically on the body area, which I think is great because if we do well there, it will show up in other areas in our lives, right?
Right. And I like what Heather said. It's the business owner's responsibility to make available resources. And guess what? It doesn't have to cost you anything. You just need to know who to connect with and who to leverage in your business to bring in those resources. And it's funny. It's just the small business owner. This is my message to the small business owner. Slow down. I understand you've got to work in your business, but you also have to work on your business. And part of that is leveraging the time of experts that can come in and just bring in those resources or provide you with that additional support so that you can run your business and be profitable. That's my biggest wish, is to help business owners get out of their way, to stretch their vision so they don't have a limited mindset. There are a lot of resources out there, and just because you think you have to pay for them, that's a limiting mindset. So take advantage of what's out there and the people that are reaching out to you to be that resource for you or to introduce you to the resources. I would say go for it and take advantage of it.
It's so important. I mean, and Heather, I want your input here because I remember a point years ago where I had an issue dealing with a stressful situation and I didn't quite know where to turn. So understanding, myself better now, thankfully I can do that. But again, I think this is part of wellness. And I think this is a part where you and I cross over, Heather, a little bit with Powernality, is like understanding yourself to lead yourself well. And then again, helping your team. So Heather, this is again, one of your gifts, I really believe, is that you're able to come in and help folks better understand who they are. And then, and with that understanding, make sure that they're taking the steps necessary to make sure that they're doing well, whether it's their, like where they literally physically work, right? The people that they're interacting with, getting them in the best spot, right?
Truthfully, my superpower is connecting people to their true selves. Okay. And when they can connect to their true selves, the wellness practices will come forth that they need to go on as I work with them. And it can be in any realm of wellness. Wellness is everything. But I think the comprehensive approach to wellness basically is a holistic acknowledgement that every aspect of well-being is directly influenced by our work, and our overall health of the business, as well as our personal individual wellness practices. Bottom line, when employees thrive, businesses prosper. But that's just reality. But most people have a hard time seeing that. First of all, it's not what they've ever heard before. It's thinking out of the box, and they've got so much on their plate. It's hard to think of adding one more thing.
Right.
More thing. Business is great, and it is also hard.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know what? I definitely feel like there's more to talk about this. We'll wrap it up tonight because I feel like, we're coming to the end of our recording time here tonight, but I definitely think there's a lot more topics to cover here. And to help.
I can't wait to talk to Stacy and you some more, David. Oh,
yes, I know. We've got to get some more in there.
Likewise.
So I'll come back around. So Stacy and Heather, I want to come back to you, Stacy, first. So just again, final takeaways, thoughts as we're wrapping up this episode, this particular topic. But we're going to come back to it again. There's a lot more to dig into, but just final takeaways from from our time today.
The takeaways is that, as Heather said, it's imperative to make health and wellness a priority in your business, because it's not only it will not only affect you as the business owner, but affect your business overall. And so look at the bigger picture and make it a priority. I would say that's the biggest, loudest thing that we're saying is, look, let's make it a priority. Yes, we can monetize it. Yes, we can do all those things to bring value, but unless you make it a priority, it will never happen in your business. That's
right.
Okay.
Yep. And you're here and you've got some resources to reach out to Stacy, Heather. I'm happy I can get you plugged in with either one of them as well. So here's your loud and clear. You have help. It's right here. Heather, just your last, we're so great, number one, having you on here, and we're looking forward to having you back again.
Thank you, David. It was fun.
Absolutely. The last thoughts or takeaways that you want to share with the listeners.
One thing I just kind of want to recap: leaders lead, and that means even in the wellness and the health of their business, not just in their employees, but also in themselves and the environment that they're cultivating, right? And when employees are happy, they're satisfied, that trickles on to the customer, which then in turn creates more business, right? That cycle is there to tap into, and wellness plays a huge role in that.
Absolutely.
But like Stacy said, if you don't see the importance of wellness even for yourself as the business owner, you're not going to be able to get that across to the other people.
Absolutely.
Leaders lead. When employees thrive, business prospers. Wellness is what you do. Health is your result. Working on the business grows the business. Working in the business makes money and gets stuff done.
We want the
Very
health
well
and
said.
wellness together. So thank you both for being on here. You guys, we love your feedback. We love comments, liking, and sharing all this, of course. Follow us on Business Roundtable podcast. We are on all the different platforms. You can see us on YouTube as well. So if you're listening to this and you want to see us in action, please join us on YouTube there. And again, I want to just thank you so much, Stacy and Heather, for joining me tonight.
My pleasure. Look forward to the next one. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Take care. Bye,
Ciao,
everybody.
ciao.